John Mitchell had always considered himself a pragmatic man. As a third-tier diplomat stationed on the remote trading outpost of Kepler-4, he handled the mundane negotiations that kept humanity's fragile alliance with the Zenthri Empire functioning. So when Ambassador Velthar presented him with an unusual proposal, during what should have been a routine trade discussion, John assumed it was another bureaucratic formality, a marriage contract. John had asked, reviewing the holographic document floating before him. "I thought we were here to discuss grain quotas." Velthar's crystalline features remained impassive. "The Zenthri value symbolic unions to cement alliances. This is merely ceremonial, Mr. Mitchell. Sign. And your species receives preferential trading status for the next decade. Refuse." And the alien diplomat let the sentence hang ominously. John had read through the contract quickly. Standard diplomatic language, binding for 1 solar year, with an option for dissolution after that period. The bride's name was listed simply as Anna. No title, no background information. Just another mid-level Zenthri official, he assumed. Probably as reluctant about this arrangement as he was. He signed. 3 weeks later, John found himself aboard a Zenthri cruiser, traveling toward the capital world of Zenthra Prime for the ceremony. His superiors back on Earth had been ecstatic about the trade deal, completely dismissing his concerns about the marriage arrangement. "Just smile for the cameras and don't cause an incident," his supervisor had told him. The wedding ceremony was scheduled in what Velthar called a modest venue. When John's shuttle descended through Zenthra Prime's iridescent atmosphere, he expected some government building or perhaps a small temple. Instead, the shuttle approached a structure that dominated the entire horizon, a crystalline palace that stretched across kilometers, its spires piercing the clouds. "There must be some mistake," John muttered. Velthar, seated beside him, made a sound that might have been laughter. "No mistake, Mr. Mitchell. Welcome to the Eternal Palace." The next few hours passed in a blur of confusion. John was rushed through corridors filled with beings from 1,000 different species, all bowing deeply as he passed. Servants dressed him in ceremonial robes made from fabric that seemed woven from starlight itself. Officials kept referring to him with titles he didn't understand: consort designate, future crown prince, keeper of the royal seal. "I think there's been a serious misunderstanding," John insisted to anyone who would listen. No one seemed to hear him. The ceremony took place in a chamber so vast that John couldn't see its ceiling. Millions of beings filled the space, both physically present and projected holographically from across the galaxy. John stood at the center of a luminous platform, his heart pounding, wondering what diplomatic catastrophe he'd stumbled into. Then Anna entered. She moved through the assembled crowd like a living constellation, her form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. She wore a crown that seemed to hold captured galaxies within its structure. The assembled millions fell silent, then prostrated themselves, every species, every delegate, every warrior and merchant and scholar. John's mouth went dry. He'd assumed Anna was just another bureaucrat. He'd been catastrophically wrong. She approached the platform, and as she drew near, her form solidified into something more comprehensible to his human eyes, a woman of striking beauty, with eyes that held the depths of space itself. When she spoke, her voice resonated through the chamber without need for amplification. "John Mitchell of Earth," she said, and somehow her voice was both gentle and commanding. "Do you understand what you have agreed to? I'm beginning to suspect I don't." John paused, unsure of the proper address. "Anna is sufficient," she said, a hint of amusement in her cosmic eyes. "I am Anna Zelenara, eternal sovereign of the Zenthri Empire, guardian of the 7 spiral arms, keeper of the ancient accords, and queen of 300 billion souls." She paused. "And as of 3 weeks ago, when you signed our marriage contract, you're betrothed." The platform beneath John's feet suddenly felt very unstable. "The queen of everything?" "Not everything," Anna corrected. "Just everything within our empire, which admittedly covers approximately 47% of this galactic cluster." John's mind reeled. He'd married the most powerful being in known space. "Why?" he managed to ask. "Why me? I'm nobody. I'm a third-tier diplomat who processes grain shipments." Anna's expression softened. "Because every other suitor approached me with ambition, with schemes, with desires to control or influence or use my power. You approached me without knowing who I was. You signed a marriage contract thinking I was an ordinary bureaucrat. Do you know how rare that is? How refreshing. So this was a test, of sorts. Anna extended her hand toward him. The question now is whether you'll proceed, knowing the truth. You have every right to withdraw. I won't force anyone into this role. John looked at her hand, delicate and human-seeming. Yet he knew it could unmake stars if needed. He thought about running, about returning to his quiet life, processing grain quotas on a backwater station. Then he looked into her eyes again and saw something unexpected: hope. Even queens could be lonely. Well, John said, taking her hand, I've already signed the contract, and I was raised not to break my promises. Anna smiled, and for a moment, the cosmic weight of her presence fell away, leaving just a woman who'd taken a desperate gamble on an oblivious human diplomat. Then let us begin, John Mitchell. You've married the queen of everything. Try not to break any galaxies. As the ceremony commenced and reality itself seemed to bend around them to witness their union, John couldn't help but think that his supervisor's advice about not causing an incident had come far too late. He'd just become the most important human in galactic history, entirely by accident, and somehow, looking at Anna's genuine smile, he thought it might actually work out. The assembled billions erupted in celebration, and John Mitchell, former grain quota specialist, stepped into a future beyond anything humanity had ever imagined, one marriage contract at a time.